Okay, good. Actually, everybody showed up, and I see that there are 31 participants. That's every one of our students. So nobody skipped today's class. This is very good. Yeah, good. All right. Sorry about that. My new headphone that I forgot to turn it on. So I've been talking and talking without realizing that I can't hear you guys. All right. So the problem comes, right? So if we cannot reliably establish the cost, right? And on the other hand, the benefit sometimes is not purely in quantitative terms. And how do we reliably establish the value of the IT investment to the company? How do we establish that? How do we make the case that, this IT investment is valuable to the firm? Okay. So that becomes the very important questions, because we understand that IT investment, right? Okay, sometimes does not act like capital investment, decrease value over time. Okay, even though if IT investment decrease value over time, we don't know how to track it, right? Let's say you make this AIS, you spend perhaps $1 million on your AIS, right? Does this AIS, how do you keep track of the value of the AIS so you can say, oh, this AIS is so important to our company, we need to spend money to protect it, right? We need to buy equipment, we need to hire consultants to make sure that the security of this is impeccable, right? How do you establish that? So that's the problem that we're facing right now. How do we evaluate the value of the IT asset? Okay. So first we start with the historical value. Okay. The historical value is indeed on the book. Right? We record the historical value when we acquire it. Right? But what's the problem with the historical value for IT investment? Just think about your IS investment. What's the problem of your historical value? Let's think about it. Oh, let's ask Lan. Lan, what do you think? What's the problem using historical value as a indicator of the IT investments value? Lan, can you hear me? Okay, what do you think? What's the problem using historical value as an indication of the value of the IT asset? Just think with your AIS investment or your AIS project, what do you think the problem might be? Mm-hmm. Okay, so one of the biggest problems with IT investment using historical value is that a lot of things like R&D or the people that you're working at, the salary that's paid, right? They are expensed in the period, right? You can't capitalize it, okay? You can't make it a property or equipment. They just expense like a period expense. So historical value does not necessarily reflect the value of your IT asset, right? Say you're making this important IT equipment, right? Or you're making this important AIS software, ERP system to revolutionize how your company operates. But the historical value will not reflect that. Why? Because these are considered period expense, right? Okay. So even though you dump so much money, right, developing that IT software or a particular business processes, it doesn't show up in a historical value at all. How about the book value? Book value is even worse, right? Okay? Because book value is what? The historical value minus what? Accumulated depreciation, right? Okay. So the book value don't even show the full picture of your IT asset. How about the market value? Okay, the market value is the value that you can establish on an open market. Okay, so the market value is that, okay, I can sell this. I develop it, I can sell it. But the market value, when it comes to the gap rule, is that this market must be open market, openly traded, like the stock market, or like the let's say the any kind of open trading platform. Okay. And but the problem with IT investment that there is no so-called open market let you trade your IT. Okay, and it may come in the future that a lot of the social media firms, they are thinking about this type of initiative to openly trade data, right? So the initiative goes like this. Okay, so there are companies collecting our information, right? Like for example, Equifax collect our credit-related information, right? And Facebook collect information on what I say, and Google collect information on what I browse on the internet, right? So the issue goes like this: if they are using our information to make money, right? Okay, as a consumer, I should be able to have a share of it, right? Because you're using my information to make money, you know. So it not only needs my consent, I should get a share of it, right? So the initiative goes like this: that if those information can be put on the open market to trade, right? And then as a consumer, we can get a piece of that information, right? If I opt in to have my credit information recorded by Equifax, so when Equifax sell that information, right, and certain part of the money has to go to me, right? I have to benefit from it, right? That's some of the companies trying to think this way. It may be like that in the future, right? So maybe like that in the future, that information is so freely traded, right? And most of us does not need to work, because we can just allow our information to be sold and have get money from Facebook, from Instagram, a check. Oh, your information is shared X amount of times. No, here's a check for you. Right? I thought it's an interesting idea. It's sort of like how many views you get on YouTube, right? Because the more views, the more subscriber you get, right? You can, how do they call it? Monetize your video, right? Right. So the idea is, can I monetize my private information, right? So Equifax, if they want to sell my credit information, yes, you can, but pay me. You know, I thought that's an interesting idea. So that's what the market value is. Are you able to sell your IT asset on the open market? If you can, we can use that market value to establish the value of this IT asset. How about replacement value? Replacement value is yes another one. Okay, we may not know, okay, how much money it reflects from the historical value, but we do know in order to replace this IT asset, we need to put in extra effort, right? We need to hire people again, right? Okay, so this replacement value may go above and beyond the historical value or the book value, right? Because it consider, right, the costs associated replacing a particular IT asset, right? But it still does not consider, okay, the intangible part of the IT asset. So there are more ways to look at it, okay? Like for example, what work was required to develop it. Right? So this way we consider the entire R&D expenditures or the period cost that you sunk in when you develop this IT asset, right? Okay. You see, the replacement value, it only captured that the new additional expense that you have to spend to replace your old IT, but replacement value does not consider, right, all the work that went into develop it, right? So let's just take Google again as an example. So Google search engine, right? If it's broken, then we may think, oh, how much it would cost to replace this Google search engine, the hardware, the code, yeah, to hire more people to redevelop it. But we did not, this way we did not consider how much we sunk in, and if we consider this what work required to develop it, we have a better picture, right? And we also would take a look at this. What would the competitor pay for it? Okay, this measure is actually quite important. Okay, because a lot of times when we consider cost-benefit analysis, to consider how much time or how much effort we need to spend to protect this IT investment, we need to first understand how important this thing is, right? But a lot of times we fail to consider, right, how this is important to our competitors. Let's just take this as an example. Say that you bought a car a very long time ago, okay, for like $2,000. It's just a Ford Pinto, not very expensive, right? So you don't pay much attention to it. You think it is just another car. But later turned out that Ford Pinto was actually owned by Brad Pitt, right? When he was out very young and just struggling. So suddenly that Ford Pinto, it become very valuable. It does not really matter that the replacement value, or it does not really matter how much work you dump into to maintain the car. You didn't spend much money on this car at all. But now it turns out this become a hot commodity, right? And the competitors or the criminal outside is willing to pay a lot for it, right? So ordinary situation, you wouldn't pay much insurance, or you wouldn't put, let's say, an air-conditioned garage for your Ford Pinto. Right? But then now the case is that because the competitors or outside forces is willing to pay a lot of money to acquire this asset, right? And then you have to spend money to protect it. It happens all the time that you develop, a particular company developed a technology, right? A new way of doing things, and they apply patent for it, right? And it become something that the competitors want, right? But the company has no way to establish the value, right? Because they perhaps didn't spend much on it. Perhaps that the company didn't really care about it much, right? But then the problem is the competitors would pay a lot for it. Then the value of the IT, okay, may have to use this measure, right, to establish the value. Okay, and sometimes maybe what damage would result if we would lost or destroyed, right? And this type of damage may sometimes cause liabilities. If this thing is broken, if this thing is not functioning, right? What type of liability would it cause? Let's take Equifax as an example. Okay, so Equifax, when the Equifax leak, it resulted in about 240 million record, okay, of U.S. citizens' record was stolen by hackers, right? Okay, so maybe it was just a particular machine, right? Or some person did not protect their password, so it gets stolen, and it get into Equifax, and the hackers start collecting those information, right? So it results in a huge amount of liability, because now there are over 240 class action lawsuits against Equifax. That's how many it is, right? So if something, one of your IT asset, right, if it is damaged or broken into, can potentially cause a huge liability to your firm, right? Maybe you have to use this as a guideline to establish the value of your IT asset. Okay, so these are the guidelines that we usually look at, above and beyond just whatever is on the book. Okay, right. So from that principle, we can establish, right, these sort of numbers: the cost to acquire, develop, to replace, the cost to maintain, the value of the asset to the owners and the users, and the value of the asset to the adversaries, and value of intellectual properties that went in to develop the information or operation production activities affected if the asset is unavailable, or if liability issues if the asset is compromised, or usefulness of the role of the asset in the organization. Okay, so these are the ways that we can take a look to establish the IT, the value of IT, right? Okay, So when it comes to establish it, if we want to put a number to it, okay, we can use several ways, and usually one way is in capital budget or the financial metric, we can use a payback period or break-even analysis to compare the cost and benefit of this IT project. Like payback period calculations like this, the payback period equals to initial investment divided by the increased cash flow per period. So this is a pure numeric exercise, right? One has to determine the initial investment. What is the investment you put in for this AIS? So like, for example, for you guys AIS, what do you need to consider? Okay, the initial investment include people's time, right? The consulting fee that we paid, right? The management overhead that is shared, perhaps a utility bill, right? That is shared, communication, all that you dump in to track because that's seen as your initial investment, and you establish the increased cash flow after the AIS is done. So as an example here, if your IT project is expected to cost $20,000 upfront, right? And it will provide a net benefit that averages $16,000 per year for next 3 years. So now you can see your payback period is 20,000 divided by 16,000. What you get is 1.25 years to pay back. But the payback period calculation, there's a problem in it. Is that first, this net benefit average, this thing, is difficult to establish. And second, the net benefit, it did not consider the time value of money, right? Okay, because if you establish like $10,000 a year, the $10,000 cash in 5 years, right, is a lot different, a lot less than $10,000 you can get today. That's the basic of time value of money, right? Most of you took Finance 101, right? Basic finance class. So you remember that time value of money? Yeah, it's this thing. So if we want to consider the time value of money, okay, then we consider this present value of future cash inflow or future value of current cash outflow. Okay, so usually that comes to this. We need to invest $50,000 a year in this project, but our project will be accomplished or completed in 5 years, right? And when it's completed, okay, we can bring in $50,000 a year, right? But we know with respect to time value of money, $50,000 today is a lot more than $50,000 in the future, because this is how you calculate it over here. The present value of the cash flow equals to the cash flow of T divided by 1 plus R, right? And to the power of T. So let me show you here. So what happens with time value of money calculation is that any number, let's say 5,000, if it divided by 1, what happened? It's still 5,000, right? Okay, but if you 5,000 divided by anything, 1 plus anything, let's say 2, 3, 4, 5, anything, this will be less than 5,000. Okay, so anything, this R or this X is bigger than 0 will make this 5,000 less. So that's what we're seeing over here, 1 plus R. This R is the safe interest rate, okay? Usually the federal rate, okay? So if the federal rate is higher, that basically means that, why am I going to invest in you? I can just buy some US Treasury bond, right? And make more money than invest in your company, right? So that's the meaning of this present value, right? Even if putting in the safest amount over here, right? We can still get more money out of it, right? On the future value over here, it's the same thing, right? $5,000 today will be the future value of 5,000 is 5,000 this period and times 1 plus the interest rate over t value. So in this case, we know 5,000 times anything bigger than 1, right? That is $5,000 will be more than $5,000, right? So this comes to the discussion. You guys remember that the Fed is talking about negative interest rate? You guys remember that? The negative interest rate, right? So that means the interest rate is less than 0. Yeah. So what that means, if this thing is less than 0, right? Your future value, right, is less than $5,000. That means if you keep money in the bank, you actually have to pay bank, right? Right? Interest rate. Oh, please, you know, in addition to the management fee or whatever, here is the interest fee that you charge me to keep money in your bank. The bank is gonna charge you interest rate to keep money in there. That's what the negative interest rate mean, right? So why the Fed wants a negative interest rate? Is because they don't want people to keep money in the bank. They don't want bank to keep money in the bank. They want the money afloat in the market. So it's usually seen as a way to give a stock market a boost, right? Put the money in the stock market instead of in the bank, right? And this usually happens when there's an economic downturn, right? And the government want to stimulate investment, right? Okay, so a lot of times now people see, okay, why there's the economy is so bad and the people are not buying things, the consumer confidence is very low, but the stock market is still very high. Why is that? Because the Fed is giving the stock market adrenaline, right? They just keep pumping adrenaline into the stock market. So the Fed cannot do this forever. So there's always concern that someday, we don't know when, that stock market bubble is going to burst. And there's already quite a few things out there. And for example, Merrill Lynch, they just analyzed the current value of the Tesla stock. So Tesla stock was just 2 days ago was above $1,000. It was 960 today, this morning, right? It went down to 960. And Merrill Lynch said it's going to go down to $600, right? Okay, they think that $900.60 is still too much, right? So that's basically what tell you what the interest rate, right? The Fed's interest rate and what people are actually thinking about this current stock market right now. All right. So then this one, another way is the traditional what we call accounting rate of return. Okay, accounting rate of return, ARR, is sometimes known as ROI, the return on investment. Accounting rate of return, it's the same thing. Okay, so it seems that this the average annual income from the IT initiative divided by the initial investment cost. So the accounting rate of return is calculated as this: the return, annual income from IT initiative, divided by total IT initial investment cost. It's a generic way to evaluate the return on investment. But the problem here with accounting rate of return is always, how do you establish here the average annual income from the IT initiative? How do you establish that? Right? Okay. How do you make a determination that this sort of money is actually directly related to the IT investment? It's difficult to establish that. And the second part is difficult to establish this total IT initially investment cost. Because earlier we just go through, right? So what do you establish this number? There could be quite a few of them, right? So that's the problem. And there's a chart that is provided to compare these three: the payback period, accounting rate of return, and net present value. Okay, so these are the common ways to look at it. So that's the lecture. So from the textbook, this chapter 16 is going to be the last chapter for the final exam. And next hour, let's come back at 3:15. We're going to get into our project and wrap everything up. We're going to talk about the format of your presentation. We're going to talk about your final written project. Okay. And then I'm going to put you into group and discuss your midterm modules with each one of you. Okay. And then next week, it's going to be your presentation, right? Okay, so come back 3:15. Taco. Okay. Really? これなかったらどうなの？ここちゃうで、これやで。これやで。実やね。ここちゃうで。My here is here. Yeah. Touch my head. I need to. バナナとアルモンドを火としてないんだけど、別にね。But you want to enjoy food? Yeah, but I don't really want to eat. 問題。No joy. No joy. No joy. 爸爸在西欧不看见那个啦？啊？爸爸在，他不在西欧。we pack, we leave it exactly at 4. Wow, nothing to pack. Clothes, passport. They usually get there by 5 hours. 5.5 hours, so I get there airport at 9:30. 9:30, let me see. Because Google is like an estimate of time is pretty accurate. 5:25, but now I'm just a traffic. Oh, okay. Even 5:30 is good. Because you'll get there by 9:30. There's a traffic jam in Santa Monica and those areas. Oh. I'm super worried about the furlough, man. With the furlough, then the process will completely stop. Just delay. There's so many people, not just us. You don't just stop it. Delay. Yeah, but delay means to stop, don't process. And then the last day that they do is August 3rd. So if we don't receive our PR approval by August 3rd, they won't, because they're going to start having interview end of July. No, interview almost all, unless like the family based, employment based, right? People almost all wait. Family based need to interview because they have a statute of validity of the marriage. Not almost all, my research, not everyone. One thing. Yeah, I don't expect it. I don't put a high hope in a beginning, so I don't. I thought like 3 years. I only like what? This is a year now. Very fast. Compared with those Indo living here for like what 10 or 15 years. Alright, let's come back to class. Okay, let's wrap up our AIS project. So last week we already done the last part, which is the deliverable requirements. Basically, we went through, like for example, if you are developing in-house, you need to decide what need to be turned in, okay? Or if you are working with a third-party consultant, you need to decide, what you need to get. So with the deliverable requirement is that not only you have to assign the content of deliverable, you have to specify what is the success measure that you think what is considered to be done, and then what is the the format of the acceptance. What is considered as you or the party or the stakeholder will accept what you deliver, right? So that is quite important for any project, because you see, if it is not constitute as the acceptance, you can't really charge that the AIS development to your client or to the stakeholder, right? So after that is done, we talk about our presentation next week. So the presentation is scheduled next week, we know, and all group will present, and each group will have 20 minutes to present the material and 5 minutes for Q&A. And I expect that every member to present your material, every member. Okay, so a little bit side talk about presentation. A lot of people hate presentation, and some of the students that I talked before, they say I hated presentation so much they choose accounting because they thought accounting there would be no presentation. And it's not true. Even with accounting, especially nowadays, right? Accounting, the job of accounting job is become a communication type of role, right? So a lot of times you need to communicate with your stakeholder, you need to communicate with the managers, right? So people ask me, how do I do that? How do I train myself to present, right? There's are things you can learn to enhance your presentation, okay? And I know there are a lot of the foreign students or students, the English is not your first language, right? And it's quite challenging, I understand. I came from the same background too. I when I came to United States, I barely speak any English at all. It's been a long way for me to get here today. And some student asked me, how did I do it? It's actually not that hard, but you have to be disciplined. And the trick is this, and I'll share my experience. Whether how you're going to do it is entirely up to you. And even if you take this approach, it's even if you are an English speaker, you will find it beneficial too. Okay, so how I did it is I subscribed to The Economist magazine. Let me show you. So with The Economist magazine over here, okay, let me see if I can, I'm still logged in. With The Economist magazine, that they actually hire professional readers, the BBC announcers, to read the article. So what I did before is just I read this article along with the professional announcers, right? So I can adjust the speed of my reading, the pronunciation to the article. And The Economist magazine is one of the premier business magazines out there. The writing is excellent, right? The argument is very good, and they don't use like really flourished words like the Atlantic magazine or the New Yorker magazine. The Economist magazine, they use really good language. So I would just follow. In 1993, this newspaper told the world to watch the skies. At the time, humanity's knowledge of asteroids that might hit the Earth was woefully inadequate. So that's what I would do. I will pick an article to read every day, right? And with reading magazines like this, it helps you to formulate your thought, right? So whenever you are trying to present, try to enunciate something, then the words will come up in your head, and you will feel comfortable to read something out loud or to communicate in a public place, right? And that's how I train myself to do that. And for those of you find English challenging or pronouncing English to be something that you feel really shy about, this is perhaps something you can try at home. And I had students do that, and in my previous semester and over a year, right, I noticed a dramatic improvement in their ability to speak English. Right? And for me, I'm still not the best. I still have my trouble, and the pronunciation is still not perfect. But at least now I feel way more comfortable. Right? And I still do this from time to time. I look at an article, I will try to read it out loud. Not just read in your head. No. Read it out loud, really. Right? And that will help you quite a bit. You should try it. Okay, so that's a little side talk about how to make yourself more comfortable reading English, right? Enunciate English. Right? So the presentation order will be determined in the break room. It's kind of like a raffle draw, and I'll give you several paper and let you choose, right? And from that paper, the order of the presentation will be determined, right? Okay, and then the format of the presentation, you should treat the audience as the project sponsor. Okay, address the audience appropriately. Don't treat the audience like students, as if that you are presenting this AIS in your company, right? And try to show, right, what you really want or what this AIS can do for the company, right? So imagine this Zoom meeting is actually a corporate meeting, right? Okay, so everybody here you see is actually your coworker from other department per se, and try to convince them that this AI is going to be very good. Okay, you may use PowerPoint, Prezi, or some other form like Google Slides. A lot of students nowadays like to use Google Slides for the presentation. And like I said earlier, all project members must present a portion of the project, and we have to use Zoom meeting to present online. So what that means, okay, you have to send the slide to me, or link of the slide or Google slide to me. Okay, and what the student did before for the spring semester is that they mark the presentation as who's going to speak the next slides. So I will know, okay, next slides belongs to who, next slides belong to who. And sending the slides to me is the good point is that I can control the slides, right? So we don't need to switch control to the next person, switch control to the next person is very cumbersome. So I will be the one control the slides. And so if I'm usually pretty good at following people's presentation, but if I miss that your cue to go to the next slide, you can just tell me to next slide please, and I'll just go to the next slide for you. All right? Okay, so that's how it is done. And the content of the presentation, I would like you to focus on the following: the justification of the project, okay, the current business challenges, okay, what are you proposing that would tackle this particular challenge? Right. Okay, so the modules and your plan for the AIS, right? And you do not need to present every module, no. Okay, and focus on the essential aspect, the things that you think that matters the most, right, to make this project important, to make this project work, right? So I want you to focus on the element in the project that are essential to the success of the project or to tackle the business challenge, right? So the marking of the project, I market the first is the relevancy to the business challenge, right? The adequacy of the plan, the perceived usefulness, okay, the efficacy of the analysis in terms of your use cases, your features, okay, and your constraint and risks, right? And the overall professionalism of your presentation and the likelihood to obtain stakeholder support. Yeah. So even though this is an online presentation, I would like you to treat it professionally. Dress up, right? Light your room well, okay? Put on something nice. And then the written project. The written project is due on the 7th of July, about 5 days after the midterm, after the final. Okay. So all 9 units need to be included. Okay. You can provide a short description to explain each one of the module. It is not necessary, but you can certainly do that. Because you see, as a reader, I must understand what you're trying to do. And if your projects fail to deliver that, and after I read it, I still don't understand, right? And I don't know, I don't understand how relevant it is to the business challenge, then you will have trouble. So if you put on a short description to explain the module, maybe to enhance the reader's understanding, and then the likelihood you get a higher grade is perhaps higher. Okay, there's no length requirement. However, you must consider and think if the reader will be able to understand what you're trying to communicate, right? If it's too short, I won't be able to understand. Right? In addition to the modules, provide a table of content, a 1-page executive summary, and the cost or proposed budget, right? Or schedule timeline estimate. Don't focus on the cost and schedule too much. It is not important, yeah, because this is a make-believe project, right? Okay. So the cost could be anything that you say, right? And the schedule is the same thing, so just give a rough estimate here. The estimate budget is $50,000 or whatnot, right? It doesn't need to be accurate. But the reason why I want to put it here is let you realize that if you're doing this for real, then you want something in the cost and the schedule estimate. But it is not important for this particular presentation. Okay, and you want to make sure that all material is presented professionally. And based on the midterm project, right? It's already seeing like there's some problem here and there, and some group didn't put the names on the written report, so I have to manually find who are the project members in order to give the mark. No. And put a good front page on it, right? Make it look good, right? Present professionally, all right? And even though there's no length requirement, it should not exceed 20 pages, but there's no penalty if you go over. Don't make it too long, but if you go over 20 pages, I will not penalize you on that. And some students, they make a full, really thorough AIS report, this project, and I understand their motivation because some students actually do this for their job at work. I have students did that in the past, and some students actually use this as their business plan. And there's some students, they want to develop apps, right? They actually want this part to be part of their business plan, so they made it very thorough, and that's fine too. I don't mind. Right. So use a standard 12-point size font, right? And provide adequate reference or bibliography if it's needed. So if you're referencing some special technology or some equipment that you want to use, some scanner that you're trying to use, you can perhaps provide a reference. Oh, this is what they look like. Oh, we got the spec of the equipment from this supplier, things like that. You can provide those information in the reference or bibliography. Make sure that your objective and your approach, okay, is clearly communicated, and the primary evaluation criteria are based on the effectiveness of your accounting information system proposal against the defined management goal and objective. That's the primary objective. So what I will mark, I'll look into a use case analysis, and what I will do is I will see if your use cases are able, right, to tackle the business challenge to make the system you want to do, right? And from the midterm module, what I have observed is partially because that this is the first time you guys did it. It's purely understandable. But then you still, when you start making the final project, you really have to look back and forth, right? Oh, this is what I said in the system goal, right? Does it match what I'm trying to do in the use case analysis? Does it match, right, what I'm saying the feature is going to be provided, right? And a lot of times that the students fail to do is update their project dictionary. Okay, this is most big problem that we see. So the project dictionary, the lecture was given quite early. So at that time, a lot of students don't really know what's going to happen, right? Or what's the special verbs, the special nouns that exist in the project. So the project dictionary that's seen is very rudimentary, right? But you're supposed to update that. Remember, in the project dictionary or noun list section of the lecture, I specifically said this list have to be constantly updated. So one trick for you to do that is, your feature, right? The name of your feature is probably need to be in your noun list, right? Or the name of a particular things, like for example, if you're using a special equipment, let's say inventory scanner, well, that's supposed to be in your noun list as well, right? Okay. So the noun list or the project dictionary is really something that if I look at the dictionary, right, it's supposed to have the words in it, right? The nouns in it that is relevant to your project. So you can scan through the things that you write, scan through the use case analysis, scan through the features to find things that are not common, right? In a, let's say in the day-to-day world, and those words are supposed to be in the project dictionary. Okay. All right. Okay. So then I'll break you guys into group, and we will do the raffle draw for the order of the presentation in the break room, and I will give you back your midterm project, and we can discuss your midterm project together when I'm in the break room. All right. So, okay, any questions? We do that? No, eh? Okay, good. So let me do a quick poll here. No, I'll just ask. So for the online learning, even though we did it in the summer in a very short amount of time, I guess you guys can see that I made certain changes to the slides and to the way the material is delivered to the student, different than regular classes, right? So first of all, you can see that the slides is in the portrait mode instead of a big landscape mode, right? And so I just want to ask you guys, is this portrait mode with large font, based on your experience so far, is it easy for you to see, easy to learn? It's good. Okay, good. Sometimes what we hear from the students is that if I just make a traditional slides without a person talking, and students said it's difficult to focus, feel like it's hard to pay attention to just the slides without a person. Is that true? I don't know. It's like I want to ask how you guys think. All right. Or the other way is with no slide, just a person talking, and that's also very difficult to track. All right. So what happens in San Francisco State University after July is that we're gonna have a series of meetings, right, to discuss how online education is going to be delivered, because now there is no standard exists in San Francisco State University, and the students are livid. Many students are now, even there's a lawsuit, you guys know? Yeah, there's a lawsuit from students against San Francisco State University, against CSU, right? They think that the online educations provided was inadequate, right? And students supposed to get some money back. No, I support that lawsuit. I think it's true. Things happen all in a sudden, and we, as faculty members, many of us are ill prepared, right? Or many of us refuse to change, right? So for me, it took me a long time to make everything work well, and I'm still learning along my way. But so do you guys think that if we move this format, because you see, if I'm going to a meeting, I'm going to promote what I have done, right? Do you guys think this is an acceptable format of online learning that we should be propagated within San Francisco State? Oh, good. Give me a thumbs up if you think so. All right. If that's the case, I will make this case to the school, because it requires equipment. It's not that the school doesn't have money. The school actually give every faculty member an X dollar amount to purchase equipment. But the problem is that the faculty member don't know what to buy, right? They don't know what to do. They don't know what to set up. So I have tried a whiteboard behind me, just write on a whiteboard. But in Zoom situation, you can't make out the writing on the whiteboard. It's too hard to read, right? So I've tried the projector, just use a projector, project behind me. It doesn't work because the projector is so shiny that it actually hurt my eye. And the humming sound from the projector, they get into the presentation and student couldn't hear. So I tried so many things, and this is what I thought would work. I can switch back and forth to workshop, to lecture, right? And now I figure out I can share video. So I'm actually making a tutorial for other faculty members as well. So one thing that I probably will do, and I would really ask you guys to help me, is to complete a survey of what worked in online education and what doesn't work, and what you think that what I did for this class enhanced the online education. Okay, so maybe that you guys are still not satisfied with some aspect of what I do. That's totally understandable. The online format cannot replace in-person meeting, and there are still areas need to be improved. But I think that at least we are making some progress to make things better for the student, right? At least to make you feel that the money's worth, right? So in the long term, I really would like the school to have their own streaming channel, not associated with YouTube, just the school's own, so we can deliver education content, streaming content through the school, not through YouTube, right? And because there are so many restrictions when it comes to using a third-party platform. Well, but that's something that we have to fight for, and the faculty members, we have our own platform to communicate with other faculty members to make online education better. But when it comes to school, the school doesn't listen to us. Trust me. The school doesn't pay attention to what teachers say. The school pay attention to you guys. Right? So if you guys said, oh, this is good, that is not good, the school really care about it. Because you see what happened if they didn't do it? Actually lawsuit against CSU. Just Google it, you'll find it. Yeah. And actually provost send an email to every faculty member that we have to preserve records of our online teaching, because it is very likely that we'll have to go to court. Right? It's a real lawsuit, and any student or any faculty member may be called upon as a witness. Right? Don't sue me. I'm one of those good guys. All right. So let me put you guys into the break room, and let's start working. All right, guys. All right. So this 6 piece of paper here is marked from A to F, A, B, C, D, E, F. So your job is to choose a character that you want. It will correspond to an order of your presentation. So which character would you guys like? A to F, choose one. F? Want F? Okay, F. F. Let me see. F. 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 Oh, you can't see it. Okay, let me get a. I don't have a marker here. All right. So F turned out to be number 2. You're the second group to present. Okay, so I'll come back to you guys to go over the midterm module. All right. Okay, let me go to another room. Hello, guys. All right, so I'm here to give you an opportunity to do the raffle draw. So you have a choice between A to F, and that will correspond to the order presentation, but the F is already chosen. So now you have a chance to choose from A to E. And I will reveal the order of the presentation after you've chosen it. A to E, anything. A. Okay, A. Say A here. A is order number 4. Okay, so it's pretty good, right? Good. All right, so I'll come back to you guys to discuss the your midterm module with you guys, and after I go over these order presentation with every group, I'll be back. Hello. All right. So what we have here is a piece of paper with the number B to E. A and F is already taken, right? So choose any letter from this B and to E, and will correspond to the order of presentation. So, okay, make your choice between B to E. So make a pick. C? C? Okay, C then. C. The first. Oh, C is 1. So you guys are the first to present. Okay, I'll be back to talk about your midterm module. Okay, and see you guys in a bit. Hello, guys. Okay, so in my hand here is 3 letters B, D, and E, right? And what you need to do is choose a character between B, D, and E, and it will correspond to the order of the presentation. And you guys are pretty lucky because number 1 and number 2 are already taken. So, yeah, so you won't be the first or second to present, but you do have to choose the character between B, D, and E. Which one do you want? B, D, E, 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 B. Okay, duke it out. B is a boy. B, 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 B once, B twice. Okay, B 3 times. Okay, B. Okay, you guys are lucky. The guy's the last one, 6th. Yay. Okay. No. I have to go over every group to assign, but I will be back to talk about your midterm module, and I'll give it back to you guys. And so, yeah. Yay! Okay, let me go to another room. Hello. All right. So this is the chance for you to decide the order of the presentation. So there's only two letters left for you guys to choose. It's between D and E. But the good thing I can tell you is that group number 1 and group number 2 are already taken. So it won't be in the first to present or the second. Ah, too bad. Yeah. So you have D and E that you can choose. E? Are you sure? E? E? E is good. Okay, E is number 3. It's right in the middle. This is good. All right. Good. I'll be back to talk about the midterm module and the rest of the project. So let me go to the last group and I'll be back. All right, guys. So the raffle draws ended and you guys turned out to be the last group, but don't be worried. And you are the 5th to present. Okay? So it's not bad at all, 5th. Is that good? All right. So remember you are the 5th to present. And I'll be back to talk about your midterm module. And so don't leave yet. All right. So I'll be back in a little bit. Let me go back to the first group. All right, I'm back. So let me go over your midterm module. So let me see who this is. Your midterm module. Who turned it in? So I can find the module. And you are who's two? Okay, Joshua did. Let me see. Is this the one that I? Nordstrom. Make sure this is the one. Okay. Oh, and so let me see. Actually, you guys did a pretty good job in this. Let me project it over here. Okay. Okay, so the Nordstorm. Okay, the project chart is good, right? The all the statement is very good. The statement of work, right? It's good, right? And the statement of responsibility is good. The authorization, that's exactly what I want. A signature block. And let me see what you guys see. Yeah, that's exactly what I want. Just a signature block. Let me make it bigger. Maybe you guys make it bigger. Oh yeah, okay, good. And the PUG pyramid, right? Yeah, it's very good. The system goal, good. The story is good. Here, the problem is here, the scale, right? Okay, I want some quantitative terms to describe the scale of the AIS. Okay, how big it's gonna be. That's what the scale is focusing on, right? The information you provided, it doesn't really tell me how big it's gonna be, right? So give me some quantitative figures. How many transactions are you going to planning to handle, right? Are you planning to a large scale operation to handle all the stores or use 1 or 2 stores as a pilot study, right? Or how many items, how many transactions, right? Okay, how many store clerk, things like that you're planning to cover, right? Give me some quantitative terms as an indication of the scale. Okay, that's one of the issue. The scope is done well. Okay, the staff is done well as well. And next is the dictionary. The dictionary is not developed well enough. Okay, so remember what I said earlier. You know, the dictionary, like for example here, right? I can quickly see, right? There are some nouns here, right? For example, the purchasing. What is that, right? And then what is this overstock, right? And what is the sales data forecast? Okay. What is the definition of, let's say, store manager or store employee, right? So the things that when you see in your system or later on in the feature, it's supposed to be in the dictionary, okay? And dictionary is supposed to be like this. The format is right. OH rec, merchandise data on hold, R&R rec, things like this. It just has to be expanded a bit further, right? Okay. No. It's just the terms that you think other people may not understand, right? Okay. So let's say over here, you, in your the AI, the use case analysis. Let's just take a look at the use case analysis, right? So in your use cases, the accountant does examine financial record, analyze store data, check inventory counts, fill inventory order, grant system authority to restrict users, customer service sales, record physical inventory change, right? So overstock, turnover, right? So these are the things that you say your accounting information system will do, right? Okay, because these are the use cases. These are the things that you're going to provide through your AIS. So when you're providing these services, right, you have to make a determination. Does the reader understand these things? Okay. If there's some things that need to be explained, you have to provide in the dictionary. Okay. I don't need you to explain everything, but the thing is, right, right now the dictionary is really not enough. Okay. Okay. It's I don't feel that confident enough to understand these things if they are not explained in the dictionary. Okay, that's all. So that's the things you have to fix: the scale, okay, and the dictionary, and make sure these use cases are all provided. Okay, right, in your AIS. So that's all. Right. Okay. Did you guys write it down? Okay, good. All right, let me go to the next one. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Yeah. The success measure is that, okay, the turn of delivery, like for example, the success measure sometimes may be just the turnover of the software. All right. Or sometimes the success measure will include, in your example, the successful implementation in a pilot store, right? So what is considered done, you know? Sometimes the stakeholder may not think that, oh, you just finished the AI software, but it's useless. You have to train the employee to use it, or you have to go through a test period of 7 weeks or 7 days, right? Okay, that is what we call the success measure, right? At what point it is considered done, right? Okay, all right. I'll see you guys.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, I'm back. All right, let me get you guys' project. So who turned it in over here? Let me see. And that is Ella. Okay. Graciela. All right. Okay, I'm putting it over here so you guys can see it. All right. So let me see. You guys can be able to read it. All right, it's probably big enough. It's good. All right. So overall, the presentation is good. It looks nice, right? And the thing is that when you turn in this project, you probably want to put the front page, because I had a hard time to find out who, because we have several Joshua in our class, right? So I had to find out which Joshua this is, but it's no problem at all. And the project chart is good, but you may want to the authorization. You want to show who this person is within the organization. Yeah, good. Just then put something like CEO of whatever, right? So then make it clear that this is actually from a place high enough within the organization, right? And the emoji period is good. Okay, the noun list, right? You need to update this noun list. Like for example, you actually have words like loyalty program, and what is that? Okay, so the way to do this noun list and or the dictionary update, just after that you scan through your like use case analysis, scan your features to find uncommon words and put it back into the noun list, right? Okay, because you see, supposedly that somebody look at this project for the first time and go to the noun list, right? They're supposed to understand all the special words that this person encounter, right? So you already have quite good feelings. You see, let's just take an exercise. Look at the noun list: curbside pickup, customer retention, essential business, in-home delivery, inventory status, lockup box pickup, market share, online chat, reward program. So does that give you a picture of what your AI is trying to do, or encompass the keywords of your AIS programs, right? Or this, see, that's what we're trying to do here, right? So that's one of the things you need to improve, like the noun list. And another thing is this scale here. Okay, the scale is supposed to use some kind of quantitative terms to describe how big the project is. Okay, like for example, how many transactions are you planning to offer? How many deliveries or curbside pickup you imagine that this system will handle, right? Because that will give me an indication how big this AIS is supposed to be, okay? Or are you running this in one Safeway store or the entire California Safeway store, right? Because the bigger the number of transactions you're going to handle, the more product numbers you're going to handle, the more store you have to handle, the bigger your AIS will going to be, right? So that's what I'm looking at for scale, right? So yes, you mentioned the departments, right? But it doesn't really tell me, right, that how big this is. So if you say that, okay, these departments, your AIS is going to offer service to all these departments, right? And that gives me some kind of indication. But at the end of the day, I still need some kind of quantitative terms to determine, right, how big the AIS is going to be, right? And the scope is pretty good. The stuff is also pretty good. And the use case analysis is also good. But I wonder, is an accountant considered the external user over here? Oh, I mean, sorry, you guys can't see it. Maybe make it smaller. Now you put accountants over here as an external user, right? And for internal users, you have owners, employees, managers, POS systems, but it doesn't seem like there's internal accounting functions involved in your AIS. Is that the case? I don't know, because it's your choice, right? So these are the three things. Okay, the use case analysis, where's the accounting functions is at, the scale need to be updated, and also the noun list need to be updated with all the relevant nouns. All right? These are the three things. Okay. All right, let me go to the next group. Hello. Okay, who turned it in? You guys' project. Let me, so I can put it on the screen. Catherine? Okay. All right, I'll find your name. Catherine Uber. All right, over here. Let me put down the projector over here. All right. Okay. So the management statement, issue problem statement is fine. The impact statement is fine. Okay. The statement of work is fine. The statement of responsibility is fine. The authorization is very nice. You actually made an authorization letter. that's pretty good. Right. That's good. So this system goal. Let's read it. This is going to maximize the profit of the company, to more convenient for the customers, for provide options for them to choose. This doesn't really read like the system goal to me. Okay, so the system goal refers to the system, what you're trying to do. So if you want to write system goal, a good way is that where does system goal come from, right? Or where the system goal actually is closely related to your use cases. Right? This is what your system is trying to accomplish. Right? So use cases usually developed from the system goal, right? Because your system trying to do this, right, is related to what users trying to do to get their job done, right? So I want you to update the system goal to be more specific to what your system is trying to do, right? Okay. Nah, you just say to allow the system to allow the user to pay cash, to be able to accept cash, right? To allow user to choose payment options when they are taking a ride or before taking a ride, right? So that's basically what your system do, right? Okay, accept cash payment, allow people to choose payment, okay, yeah. Okay, allow accounting function to reconcile cash payment and the non-cash payment, right? Okay, those are the things that your system is trying to do, and those are the system goals, right? Okay, because at the end of the day, what's your AI is really doing? Take cash, right? That's your system goal. So this profit of the company, that's way up there. That's like business goal, right? Okay. All right, so then here, the staff list, for example, you probably may have more than that. You only have the cash machine and Uber apps. And do you have cash machine? No, right? Right now. Right, this is something to be obtained, right? Yeah, and the staff list is actually designed to list the things that the Uber currently have, not the things that you don't. The things currently have, because the goal of this is take a look at what you have, right, and to realize what you still don't, right? So yes, you do have Uber app, right? Like, so you other stuff like processes, you do have like a payment processing system to accept credit card payment, right? So you have a list of customers, right? These are the stuff that you have right now. But what you do not have is a system like to accept cash, the procedure to accept cash, right? So stuff updated to the things that Uber currently have, okay? That is related to what you're trying to do. Okay, so the dictionary, the noun list, right? Like I said here, like for example, the processes, you will need cash intake, cash reconciliation, change of payment, cash deposit box, cash collection processes. These are all the nouns related to your AIS, right? The idea is I look at the noun list, when I look at your project, there are a lot of words I don't understand, right? They're supposed to be in the dictionary, right? Because if you're going to take cash, well, cash intake is an important noun, right? Cash. Yeah, you do. Yeah, provide a very short description. They just not nouns and also description of the noun, right? So like things like this tax return, is your AIS going to do tax returns? No, right? If it's not something that your AIS is going to touch, take it out. Right? Okay. So just that's their own business. That has nothing to do with their tax return because Uber. No. But is that something that your AIS do? Right? You consider the things that your AIS do, the things that the business do are separate. Okay, and what you're doing is very specifically an element to accept cash. That's all, right? Okay, so you don't need to go too far, right? So you already have an existing accounting system to take care of that sending out that form, right? So you can put it out in that stuff. You already have existing accounting information, existing payroll system. So you don't need to worry about this type of tax return, sending out 1099, right? Forms like that, right? Okay, because it's already there, right? And yours is just adding a additional system, right? To take cash, to allow the users to choose cash payment, right? To change payment method, right? And to reconcile the cash receipt from the drivers, right, to the cash, to the company's the cash receipt account, right? Those are the things have to be done. And for the use case analysis, okay, the problem is that the use case analysis, it must use actions, has to be verbs. Okay, so for example here, the passengers pay cash, right? And then the driver is supposed to receive cash, right? Receive cash, and then what the driver else to do? Have to deposit cash into cash machine, or the passenger deposit the cash to cash machine, right? So what you see here is a cash machine listed here as a process. Actually not. Cash machine is a user. Cash machine takes cash, reconcile cash number to the accounting system, right? So this cash machine is actually a user in your AIS system. It's not a process, right? So make sure that you update your user case diagram to verbs and actions, okay? All right, and so let me see if I can upload this document to you. And we see how that is done here. So when you turn in your final assignment, make sure these things are updated because these are the things that will affect your final grade for the final turning project. Okay? If they are not changed or they are not fixed, and then I can't necessarily give you, let me see, Catherine, right? Let me give Catherine file. Okay, let me see where the file is at. Uh, 305. Oh, that's 305, 307. Catherine. Right here. All right. All right, see you guys. Bye. All right, next group. Okay, join. Hi, I'm here. Yeah, I'm let me get who turned it in? Who turned it in? So I can upload to you guys. Yeah. Oh, almost everyone turned in. Oh, okay. Let me see. Maybe they have. Gabriel. Gabriella. So I think I marked on Gabriella's Chipotle project, right? Oh shoot, I forgot where did I put the comments on. Oh god, let me see. Yeah, I'm trying to find the comment. Actually, comment is on the file, so that's why I'm trying to show you. Try to find it. Yeah. Actually, I think. Yeah, the group hang around the average around 82-ish, 82-ish, right? And let me see. I can't find the one that I marked. Where is it? It's too many of them, right? So, okay. Is Anna here? Yeah, Anna. All right, good. All right. Chipotle. It's either 80, 82, things like that. Okay. All right, good. That's the one. Right, the management, the charter is good. Okay, yes, this is what I want with signature block to say who is responsible, and I like the MOG pyramid, right? And the problem is here, the scale. I want something in quantitative terms, right? Like how many orders are you trying to take, right? Or okay, how are you going to do this in large scale, every Chipotle store, or just a pilot store, right? Okay, because you see, if you're going to take this, you're talking about each pump is a transaction in your accounting information system, right? Because you have to track the usage of each pump, right? Okay, so then the scale we have to talking about is how many transactions, right? Approximately that we are looking at on a daily basis, right? So you will have like give me some indications, for each ingredient you will have a pump, right? Because there are tomato, there are like what's that? All different things, right? Burritos. So there are many pumps, right? So give me some kind of an indication. There, you need to track how many pumps in a store, and each pump is a handle approximately like 5,000 pounds in a day, right? So in total, the accounting information system will handle this many transactions in a day, right? Okay. And so the scope, right? Okay, so what I want in the scope here, the scope is rather short over here. I think it's because when you write this, you don't necessarily know what your system is trying to do, but now we know, right? So the scope is using a electronic pumping system to track the usage of material, right? So that's the main scope. And I want you to write it back in. Okay, so if you're talking about the usage, then you're talking about the direct material usage, right? And then, okay, and whether this information is going to be reported back to the accounting information in order to track, right? The what's the material usage and what's the cost of the raw material, right? Okay, so you need to make this scope area a little bit better. All right, and also the now it's like a dispenser, right? Okay, dispensed quantity. These are supposed to be in your project dictionary, because you see the project dictionary is supposed to be something that if I look at the project dictionary, I should be able to understand the nouns that your project encountered, right? So if you're talking about food dispensers in your project, immediately we need to think about is, right? Okay, the optimal dispensing a quantity, right? The pump, right? The dispenser, right? Things like that. And just update your now list,
In the analysis, you can see that here right now is quite general. You just talk about chief restaurant officers, crew members, food safety, quality assurance. This looks like a noun list to the business, but not to the AIS. You see where I'm going, right? All right, so update this noun list to be relevant to your AIS, okay? Yeah. And so your system boundary needs to be changed, right? Because you see, I when I look at your AI use case, right, it doesn't seem like a system designed to make to dispense the ingredients, right? Okay. Oh, okay. So now you have a technology. Like for example, if this is the case, who's gonna be a user? The pump is gonna be a user, because the pump is going to provide information to your accounting information system. What information you provide? Oh, how many pumps that I did? I consumed X amount of tomato today, right? Because as an accountant, that's what you want to know, right? Okay, so you have users that load the pump, and the pump itself is also a user. The pump will what? Like provide information to the accounting process, right? To compute the raw material usage, things like that, right? Okay, all right. So let me upload this information, this quick document back to you guys. So Anna, let me just go back to Anna. So the chat, Anna, all right, file. All right, so there's just some quick notes there because it's done very quickly. But but basically, I think you guys now understand, right, what we're trying to do, right? Okay, all right. Yeah, it's like just like for example, if for this system as an accountant, I want several features, right? Like for example, like a report the material usage. That's a transaction that I want, right? Report the machine lifespan. That's a feature that I want, right? And yeah, feature name, but it doesn't really matter. Just a feature name and it describe it. It sometimes if the feature itself is descriptive, then you don't really need to describe it that hard. It's just as far as the user can understand, it's good enough, right? Okay, all right. Let me go to other group. I see ya. Yeah. What's the question? Do you guys just called me? Why is that? Hmm. Are you trying to open it with Microsoft Word? What does it say? Error. Oh my. Okay, let me see if I can print it into a PDF document. Hold on. Chat. Catherine. Hold on. it's coming. All right, let's see. Just something, just a line, just say I would propose to budget is like X amount of dollars, and schedule just say we plan to finish this by what time. That's all. I don't want the detail. I don't want detail because this is all made up. It's like cost and the schedule. It's there's no way for you to come up with anything, right? That is relevant because you see, it's not a real world project, but. So just tell me very quickly, the budget is like 60,000, 70,000, and finish by what time? That's all, right? Yeah, good, great. All right, see you guys. Hello, you guys there? Yoo-hoo! All right, so let me see. 30s. Let me see who turned it in. Ray turned it in. All right, so let me get your document over here. All right. Okay, flex schedule. Make it bigger. All right, first thing, the charter over here, can you see? Let me make it bigger. Right, charter here. The authorization here, I want a signature block. Just align and tell me who that person is, CEO, whoever, right? Because remember, the charter is supposed to be the government, the document show authorizations, right? So this is the place to sign. You don't need to say we need approval. No, of course. Just a signature block, that person signed it, all right? Okay. So that's the first thing. Over here, the business objective, use some kind of concrete terms for the business objective, right? And here, the scale, and try to use some quantitative numbers to describe the scale. For example, if you're going to do for this big spice starting good, are you going to use one store as a pilot over the entire store in the state of California? Right? Or see how many payroll is supposed to handle in a month, right? Okay, and how many employees planning to take care of this, and how many accountants, right? Okay, because these are the things that will tell me approximately how big your AIS is going to be. Okay, so that's here, and the numbers need to be updated. It just, you need to update the new words, come up with a use case, such as like, for example, you in your use case, you have punch time, right? But so imagine this case that somebody open up your AIS and look at this. They look at this, they should be able to understand what you're trying to do in this AIS. Yeah, I see some words like payroll leaders, right? But if you see certain things like, for example, punch time, what is that, right? Okay, and for example, does your information track overtime? If it does, then we should see overtime here, right? And does your AIS track revenue at all? I don't know. Does it? Right? If it does not track revenue, you don't need to put it here, right? Okay. Right, so update the now list a little bit. And the use case is good. I like it. Okay, so that's all. And you guys are doing pretty well already. So just need to update the now list and update the scale. and just give me some kind of concrete terms for the business objective, and that's all. Right, so let me give you this thing. Yeah. So Ray sent it to me, so I will send it back to Ray. Oh, okay. I'll send to Ish. Yeah, I usually send to the person whoever sent to me. Right, so if you guys want to send to Ish, that's fine. All right, that's it's fairly easy. It just 3 things need to be updated. That's all. Right, that's small. Right. Okay. Right. See you guys. All right, I'm here. Okay, let me get your guys' file. Who turned it in? Guangzhou, right? Yeah. For Kaiser. Okay. This is not this. Oh, more than 1 person turned in. Okay. All right. Okay, then I have a problem. I need to find the person turned in. Okay, Chen Qi. All right, over here, found it. All right, first, and when you turn this in the final, right? Put a title page and with your name on it. It's hard to track who did the project, right? Okay, the statement of work. Okay, this should refer to your AIS. What is the work that you're doing? The AIS, a new booking system via web, via app, right? They say, oh, we're providing a website, right, to allow users to make booking information with the doctor, book appointment, things like that, right? So you see the statement work you're writing right now is we provide members with personal information system, registry, query, appointment, and other functions. Provide physicians with the patient information queries. Just read it like try to make it right. Okay, what are you really trying to do? Yeah, I understand you're trying to provide information to this, but be a little bit more specific, right? Just change it a bit. So make it understand, referring to the AIS directly, right? So what is that? Is that a website? Are you going to, addition to website is an app, right? And what's the accounting aspect coming to play, right? So that's the statement of work, right? So the authorization, make a signature block. Just align the person's title, right, in it. Because you see this type of authorization form, say authorized by whoever, right? No, usually you need an actual signature block. Say that to see it. All right, so the MLG is good. The system go, same thing. Okay, I want to see the accounting aspect in it. Okay, the problem with your guys' project is that in the beginning of the project, right? It's very hard for me to see. It seems like it's a booking system, right? But it's really hard for me to see where is the accounting part coming into play, right? Okay, so I remember that I discussed with you guys earlier, right? What is the accounting side of things, right? And that's the part I'm struggling to find out. Okay, so the noun list. Right, it needs to be formatted in like dictionary. Okay, so you have, for example, booking, right? Appointment, right? So if you have something like insurance chargeback, do you? right? Do you have like charge the appointment fee, right? That would be a noun, right? Because remember we talked about it. If you're talking about going to book, make a booking appointment, if they didn't show up, right, they'll be charged a fee for it, right? So those are the things when the accounting parts come into play. So you have to make those things read like dictionary. So this event, you can just see the late fee or abandon fee, things like that, and it give me an explanation. Don't write it like a paragraph, right? Okay. And the use case here, the use case, what you did in use case is a bit look like a workflow diagram, not a use case analysis. The use case analysis try to put a system boundary in the center, right, and the user outside, because this what you did here is like a workflow, right? Okay, try not to do that. Try to put the users on the outside, and the box indicate what all the use cases are. Okay, right, and try to describe the use cases with verbs. You guys already did that, so it's good. But you need to format it so we can see who are the users and what are the use cases in a more clear way. And this is the way, right? So all you need to do is change the diagram 1 to look like this, right? That's all. This is exactly what I want, right? Okay, so I haven't graded the feature list yet, right? But it's basically similar to what I want. All right, so that's all. Let me give this file to, let me see who I graded it, Chen Xi. So I will give this file to Chen Xi, and Chen Xi you can distribute to the rest of the group. But basically the comments are like just what I said earlier, right? The update the use case diagram, the first one, and update the noun list, and the update some of the 4S, right? That'll be all. Right, so I'm called to another group. Okay, if you have a question, just let me know. Hi, I'm back. What's the question? Yeah. Like I said, right, the presentation, let me go back to that slide. Right, you don't need to present everything in the project modules. Focus on the essential aspect. Because you see, remember, you are trying to convince your coworker that your AIS is good, right? Your AI is going to be successful. So do that.